So I'm very excited here to have our guest, Leron Lee. Leron had an 8-year major league career with the Cardinals, Padres, Indians, and Dodgers before going to Japan for 11 seasons. And during that time, you made 4 All-Star teams, 4 Best 9 teams. You led the Pacific League in home runs and RBI and batting average. You retired with 1,579 hits in Japan, plus another, I just found this out tonight, plus another 404 major league hits, which gets you over the 2,000 mark. And I think almost most importantly, you retired with what was it, a 320 lifetime batting average, which puts you at the top of the NPB lifetime batting.
Yes.
So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we'll start today. Today's plan is very simple. I'm going to start with a few questions just to get the ball rolling. And once we're into here, about 15 minutes or 20 minutes, we'd like to open up the questions for our guests. I know you guys are a pretty sophisticated audience, and we'll probably have a lot of questions. And we'll do that for a bit, and then I will go back at the end to ask a few more prepared questions. So we're going to start with a real basic softball question, Leron. How did you end up in Japan?
Well, um, I only have 20 minutes to tell you that.
You have less than 20 minutes for the first question.
Well, actually, I got drafted by the Cardinals. I was their number one pick back in 1966. Um, did the deal, A ball, double A, triple A, and had good years in most of those places. Um, Little trouble in Little Rock, Arkansas, but that passed and never came back. But I made it to the major leagues in 3 years. Actually, I went to spring training twice. 68, I was in spring training. I hit 300. I was backing up Lou Brock at the time and went to double A. Then the next year, I went to spring training with the Cardinals. I hit 310, backing Lou Brock again. And then my first year in the majors, 1970, and I was a starting right fielder, even though I'd never played right field before. But you know, one of the really good things that being drafted by the Cardinals and a high class major league team, had won the World Series and been in the pennant a lot, and of course had great teams from throughout history. Being a young guy. It was difficult because they had players Lou Brock, Kurt Flood, Beta Pinson, Matty and Lou. I mean they had established major leaguers. So in '70 when I was a starter, I was starting right field. I was batting pretty good, between 280 and 290 at the beginning, but I didn't have many home runs, and we were losing, so they decided to put what they thought was more power than what I was showing. So I went on the bench and started pinch hitting and playing defense. So it was I'm out of the starting lineup, and that lasted for the rest of the year. Even at the end of that year, a couple of guys got hurt. Dick Allen got injured, pulled a hamstring, and I played left field for about a month, and I hit a couple of 3 home runs. Did pretty well. And in September, Red Shandings called me in his office and said, "Hey, we know you're doing pretty well, but we want to see a couple of the young guys from AAA who were coming up." And it turned out those 2 young guys they brought up to play in my position. I went back on the bench in September. Those 2 young guys are actually older than me. And we were kind of laughing about it. Hey, these guys are older than I am. Why they want to play the young guys? I should be out there. But that didn't happen. Eventually, I got traded to the Padres in '71 in June. Played left field for them that first year, hit pretty good. I think I was 280 or 290 for the rest of that season. '72, I batted 300 for the Padres. The leading hitter there. I think I led that team in everything except Nate Colbert hit 38 home runs, and I think I hit 12, so I was second or third in home runs. But all the other offensive categories, I was up there. 1972 um, was a really good year for me, except for the fact that I took over as player rep for the team, and that was the year of the first baseball strike, and that wasn't good for player reps at that time. So 73, I was back on the bench. 74, I was in and out and actually, I got waived to Cleveland. Went to Cleveland Indians for 74 and 70, part of 75. And I went to the Dodgers in 75 and 76. Uh, all of those years, I was actually a part-time player. I wasn't, anytime that I played regular, um, and got a chance to get my feet on the ground. I hit pretty well. Even in Cleveland one time, what was it, 6 weeks I played. Buddy Bell got injured, and John Ellis got hurt the same day. So for 6 weeks I played left field, and my batting average for those 6 weeks was actually 365. Had a really good 6 weeks. But when those guys came off the disabled list, I went back on the bench. So I'm a part-time player again, which telling you all those things and those different teams just leads me up to the reason I went to Japan was to play every day. And at the end of the '76 season, the Dodgers wanted to put me on the AAA roster, and I said no. I took my release. And right after that, I got a call from Jim Lefevre, who was playing in Japan at the time, and asked me if I wanted to come to Japan. And I said, if I go to Japan, will I play every day? And he said, of course. And then they made me an offer of some salary that was really good, and I said, "Yeah, I'm coming. I'm going. I'll be there. Where's the airplane ticket?" So I went to Japan. And basically, I went to Japan to get playing time. Uh, I mean, it just in the major leagues in those days, you couldn't bat against Bob Gibson or Nolan Ryan coming off the bench. You're going to bat zero. There was no in between. I mean, the pitching was outstanding in those days. Steve Carlton, Steve Blass. I mean, just everybody had three or four great starters in their on their roster. So if you were a part-time player, your batting average is going to be 250 or less. And I thought I was a much better hitter than that. So when I got the opportunity to go to Japan and play every day, my thought was I'd go there for a year or 2 years, and I would come back and try to get me a job playing every day in the majors.
Hmm.
And that's basically how I got there.
Could you tell us about the very first beginning of your first spring training and your initial reactions?
In Japan,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. It was very cool. 'Cause, spring training in Japan starts February the 1st, and it doesn't end till April 1st or opening day, which is usually around April the 7th. So we have almost 9 weeks of spring training. And the first month, I went to Japan for spring training. I had my regular outfit, my batting gloves, and my uniforms and stuff. And it was like 32 degrees for the first 30 days. And I froze. It was unbelievably how this is not spring training. This is winter ball with snow and wind. That was the biggest shock. Um, the second was 2 months of spring training. In America, we have, 4 to 6 weeks of spring training down in Florida, and you go to practice and you go play golf or there's a lot of things to do. In Japan, it's one thing. And in spring training, we take a morning walk at 7 a.m. in the morning. We eat breakfast at 8:30, and we go to the ballpark at 9:30 to warm up. And warm-ups will last until 11:30. And then you take lunch, and baseball practice actually starts like around 1 o'clock to 1:30, and it doesn't end till 4:30. And you eat dinner and you go to bed. And it happens every day. There's no off days. In Japan, if you took an off day, you would basically lose what you had done the previous 3 days. So they really didn't take off days. They really worked hard. I mean, you can really see it when you see Otani and you see Ichiro Suzuki and you see the I don't know if you want to call it stamina or the just the way that they were built in their practice and their regulations in Japan are makes them that much stronger when they play here in America. I believe, yeah. Um, but that was the first spring training, and I made one promise to myself is next year in spring training I was not going to be cold. So when I landed in Japan, I had thermal underwear, I had ski gloves and a ski mask and headphone, earmuffs. I didn't get cold the second spring. So that was my first learned thing about going to Japanese baseball. Yeah.
Um, there were two players who had a great influence on your future success. And I want to first talk about, I want to do them out of order. So
Okay.
you once told me that your first, say, month or so of your first year in Japan in spring training was really rough and you were not happy. And then you had a chance to talk with Clarence Jones.
Yes.
He basically changed your life. Can you
Well,
talk about that a little bit?
yeah, Jonesy was in his ninth season in Japan, and actually it was going to be his last. He knew that um, we had dinner before our first spring training game, my first year, and he was telling me different stories and things that happened to him over the 9 years. And one of the things he showed me was that this pitch up inside, up high and in that would usually you fall back from. In Japan, for the gaijin players, for the foreign players, that pitch is a strike. And I said, why? I said, this and that. Well, he said, you're going to find out that the strike zone for you is going to be no limit to the size of the strike zone. I said, well, how can that be? But anyway, the next day we played the Kintetsu Buffaloes. That was Jones's team. And sure enough, the first pitch the pitcher threw me was up and in, and the umpire said strike one. And I didn't look at the umpire. I looked at Jones at first base, and he's laughing at me like this under his glove. And I said, he's right. But he showed me at dinner that night the best way to hit that pitch is like to step open and pull down on your bat this way. The next two pitches were outside and low, and the fourth pitch was in high again. And I did exactly what Jonesy told me, and I swung and I hit the ball, and it's going straight to the foul pole. And normally, those type of balls you hit inside, those balls will hook. But the way I pulled my bat down, the ball went straight and went right over the fence. So my first at bat in Japan, I actually spring training game, I hit a home run, and I got a hold to Jonesy and I says, let's have dinner again tonight, and I want you to tell me everything that I need to know about Japan. And every time we played him, I took Jonesy to dinner and he would tell me about batting and pitching and all this other stuff that's gonna happen to me in Japan. And he was 1,000% right. It all happened just like he said. Yeah, yeah. My other guy, I know who you're gonna bring up is Larry Doby.
Yep.
Um, and I think Larry helped me a ton. Larry Doby changed my whole philosophy on batting. And all of us, every last one of us who ever played baseball from Little League, I mean, everybody on this phone call, on this Zoom call, if you played Little League, somebody told you to look for the fastball and hit the curve or adjust to the curve or take the curve. Always the curve was secondary. Well, in real life, when baseball started way back in the 1800s or the 1779s or whenever it was, 1879, nobody threw a curveball. Everybody threw a fastball. And over time, pitchers developed a curveball. They developed a slider. Oh, what's this thing if you hold the ball like this? What is that called? Oh, that's a knuckleball if you want to call it a knuckleball or a split finger. All of those pitches were developed over time. So in the beginning of baseball, everybody who taught baseball or wanted to learn baseball, they only looked for a fastball. And anybody that you ever talked to that played baseball, ask them what was the first thing they told you about batting. Look for the fastball and adjust to the curve because nobody could throw a curveball over the plate. It was here or there. It it was being developed. Well, you get to the 50s, the 60s, and especially the 70s when pitching got really good. Everybody had a good curveball, and they could throw it for a strike. Juan Marichal could hit a penny with his curveball if he laid it on the ground. These guys had control of the breaking ball. So now, what happened to the batters? Everybody batting in baseball is looking for the fastball. All the pitchers now can throw a great breaking ball, either this way or sideways or knuckling or whatever. Changeups. The changeup is the killer of every batter there is. Larry Doby, in 1974, he was the batting coach for the Cleveland Indians. He asked the question, when you hit a fastball, what were you thinking about the instant before you made contact? And every batter you ever talk to, yourself included, will not know what you were thinking about at that instant, that less than a blink of an eye. What was going in your mind? Zero. Because it's a natural reaction. It's a reaction to your practice, from your practice, from your practice. Bam, you hit the fastball. And I tell all the kids now when I teach batting, and if I'm teaching a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old or a college kid, there's only one pitcher that you could not react to that ever pitched in Major League Baseball or any place, and his name was Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan is retired. He doesn't pitch anymore, so you don't have to worry about that fastball. But everybody else, you could basically sit there and look for a breaking ball and react to the fastball. Since your best swing and your best hit was a reaction, 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 why not make them all reactions? So look for the breaking ball and react to the fastball. Just the opposite of what every single person from age 100 to 20 was taught. Even today, that's what they're taught. Look for the fastball, react to the curve. Larry Doby said, look for the curveball and react to the fastball. When I went to Japan, it's a breaking ball league. Well, they're not much anymore. They got a lot of guys throwing 100 over there now too. But I went to Japan. I looked for the breaking ball and react to the fastball. So instead of hitting 10 or 12 home runs a year like I did in the majors when I did play, I started hitting 28 to 30 home runs a year with Larry Doby's application. And over time, I got a chance to talk to Sadahara O. I talked to Henry Aaron. Never talked to Barry Bonds about batting, but I'm sure it was the same. All your really, really great hitters through the 50s, 60s, and 70s, I would bet money that they all looked for breaking balls and reacted to the fastball. Never saw Hank Aaron get tricked on a breaking ball. You never saw Billy Williams get tricked on a breaking ball. They never did. And they didn't strike out on those breaking balls either, unless it was Gibson or, Carlton or somebody like that, the top five guys. Koufax had a breaking ball that only a few guys could hit. I mean, Mickey Mantle used to just cream Sandy Koufax. But anyway, that strategy I think is really helped me in Japan, and I ended up with the highest lifetime batting average in Japan. The first 10 years I played in Japan, I hit over 300, which is one of my records. Um, it was really an eye opener, and it's something that I have asked a lot of guys, and from the men's senior league down to little league. Who taught you how to hit, or who told you this, or who told you that? And every to the man, every last one of them, doesn't matter what the age, was taught to look for the fastball and react to the curve, which was exact opposite of what Larry Doby said. And I'm sure Larry Doby was right. There's no question about it. Yeah.
I love that. I'm going to take a couple questions from the audience now.
All right.
All right. So who wants to ask one? All right. So let's see. I see lots of people. Um, I see my buddy Max like waving. Max, you have to hit your button. So we'll start with Gabe, and then we'll go to Max.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
Good
How you doing,
evening,
Gabe?
Mr. Lee. I have a silly question, if you don't mind. Who came up with baseball boogie?
Baseball boogie. We're sitting on a Shinkansen one night. We were coming back from, I think we were Osaka to Tokyo, and we got delayed. It was a snowstorm or some rainstorm or something. Anyway, my brother, we were sitting on the train, and he wrote that song, Baseball Boogie. And when we got back to Tokyo, what was that company? SMS Records basically had asked to do that, and my brother wrote it, Leon, and we went in and made sung that song. Yeah.
okay,
Thank you.
Max, unmute yourself and go ahead and ask.
Well, Leon, thank you very much.
Thank
Well,
you.
even though my name is Max, I'm Japanese, and I'm 60
Yoroshiku.
years. So I was a great fan of you. I
Thank
watched
you.
you when I was elementary school pupil and a high school and senior high school students.
Uh-huh.
Thank you very much. Well, I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Um, Well, in those days when you were in Japan, Japanese baseball was considered to be inferior to the American baseball. But
Mhm.
even so, you may have thought that, oh, this player is great or amazing or something like that. So, are
Mhm.
there any Japanese players you respected or who are great and who might have performed well, even in the major league at that time?
Yes, there were many Japanese players that could have played in the majors in those days. I mean, if we had them, we could go back to Bob Whiting, one of the writers. I don't know if you guys know him, but he wrote the book Chrysanthemum and the Bat.
Mm,
He still lives in Japan, and he still writes a lot of articles for Japan Times, in which we did several articles in which I told him um, well, I'll tell you. Do you remember the guy named KG Suzuki,
yeah.
left-handed pitcher for the Buffaloes?
Mm,
He pitched for the Buffaloes for probably 20 years. He was the
mm,
best left-handed pitcher I ever faced. And
mm,
uh, closest thing to him might have been Steve Carlton of the Phillies and the Cardinals. But Suzuki was absolutely a great pitcher. Um,
mm,
and in those days, those guys really didn't consider coming from Japan to America. I think the first guy was who was the left-handed pitcher pitched for the San Francisco Giants?
Masanori Murakami.
Masanori Murakami came over, and they basically forced him to go back to Japan because I don't know, some kind of idea that they had about their own baseball. But there was many players in Japan that could have played over here. Sadahara O, Yamamoto Koji was an outfielder, great power, could run well. Of course, O hit 800 home runs in Japan, and yeah, there I wish I would have wrote a list down for you, but there was a lot of players in Japan that could have played in America. And
mm,
the only thing that was inferior about Japanese baseball is they had 12 teams, and each team had one minor league team, so they didn't have a lot of players. Uh,
mm,
they didn't have a lot of guys out there playing games, 140, 150, 160 games a year. Otherwise, they would have been better. And as we see today, of course, we got Otani over here. We had Ichiro Suzuki, and I don't know how many players are over here now playing from Japan, and it's
mm,
going to be a lot more coming too. Yep.
mm.
Second question you had.
Okay. So how have you seen the Japanese baseball developing since then?
A lot. I've been told me and my brother had a lot to do with the development of Japanese players, the crisscrossing of America and Japan as far as players going. In the early days, I mean, if you were there, you know that most of the Japanese teams would pick players in their age 35 or older. They had totally finished their careers in America, so they didn't get to see a guy like me. I went to Japan, I was 28 years old. And that's another record I think I hold in Japan. I celebrated 11 birthdays in spring training in Japan. Like, because my birthday is March the 4th. And I don't think I ever went out and had a drink because we had to go to bed and wake up the next day at 7 o'clock or 6:30 to go for the morning walk. But the development of Japanese baseball, uh, the way that they train and what they did in the early days, 2 months of spring training, season would end, they would get about 2 weeks off for vacation and they would start training again until Christmas. And they would take 2 weeks off for Christmas and basically start spring training. And they worked almost year round and they developed. I mean, there wasn't a man in Japan who couldn't sacrifice bunt or make this double play or turn this. I mean, they worked all the plays and they worked hours and hours and hours. There were several times I'm in the outfield, I'm yelling and screaming, "That's enough! That's enough!" Uh, but they worked on those fundamentals and they knew and they know and they ran it down and they worked hard. My first year in Japan, the mantra in spring training was that practice is everything and the game is second. Practice is everything and the game is second. It falls into play. If you practice right, you will play right.
Mhm.
And after my first year in Japan, I ended up winning the RBI title and the home run title. And I'll go ahead and say this: I should have won the
Yeah.
Triple Crown. I should have won the Triple Crown, but it was not. Uh, it was not given to me, and I won't say it
What?
was taken away, but I should have won the Triple Crown. My
Well, but
second,
it's probably his wife.
my second year in spring training, I totally believed it. Practice is everything, and the game will follow in step and stride. And there's there's no there's no getting around practice in any sport. And if you look at the guys who commanded things, golf, Tiger Woods. I mean, this guy would hit 10,000 balls after playing 18 holes that day. He would go out and hit balls till midnight. He'd eat dinner and go out and hit balls till midnight to get his swing right. Uh, Tony Gwynn, Wade Boggs. These guys all would go to the ballpark 2 or 3 hours before everybody else and bat for an hour before anybody got there. Take a shower and then go out and do the regular practice with everything else. There's no way to shortchange yourself and say, I'm going to skip practice and think I'm going to play well in the game. Doesn't happen. All your superstars have done their practice over time.
Steve, you're next. Oh, you're muted, Steve. You have to unmute yourself.
About that.
Yep. There you
Yeah,
go.
Leron, pleasure talking to you. I had the pleasure of seeing a documentary yesterday at the Mill Valley Film Festival, Diamond Diplomacy, was an excellent documentary by Yuriko Gamo Romer, I believe her name.
Oh yeah.
One, are you familiar with that? And two, in that documentary, one of the things I took from it, Warren Cromartie was featured quite extensively, and he said as much success as he had over there, it took him about 2 to 3 years to really feel acclimated.
Yeah.
Did it take you that long as well?
Took me one spring training.
Really?
Uh, my manager was his name was Kaneda. I forgot his first name, but he was a left-handed pitcher. He was the winningest left-handed pitcher in the history of Japan. He won 408 games. But he was known as the running manager. Basically they called him at times the crazy manager because He would do some strange things. But opening day, that first year, he called me and my interpreter over, and he looked at me, and I didn't hit any home runs in the spring training, and I found out later they thought I was they didn't know how I was going to hit. They looked at me for more. They thought I was going to be hitting a lot of home runs and this and that, whatever. Anyway, he looked at me and he told through my interpreter, he said, these first 2 months, he said he's been pretty calm. He says the season starts tomorrow, and that's when he's going to really get crazy. And he looked at me, and I asked what? My interpreter looked at me and kind of did his shoulders. I says, okay, well, tell Mr. Kaneda I am the same way. When the season starts and the games are for real, I really get crazy too. And Mr. Kaneda answered me. He said, Yosh, that is really good. Let's go fight. And we were good buddies the whole time he was there managing. We had our arguments, we had our differences, but the main thing was always, if you put the uniform on, was to go out there and win the game. There was no room for anything else. And I was taught when I was young from my grandmother how never to lose. And she beat me in checkers, or she'd beat me in a card game, or she'd beat me whatever game we were playing, because she was, we did a lot of things like that. And she says, I'm gonna teach you how never to lose. And I said, how is that? She says that she beat me in checkers, and then she looked at me and she said, did you lose or did you learn something? So when you go out and you play 150 games every year, you can't you can't take those losses as a negative. You gotta, if I lose a game or if we got beat in a game, I gotta figure out how I'm gonna come back tomorrow. If I go 0 for 4 and strike out 2 or 3 times, I got to figure out how to get 2 or 3 hits the next day. And I got to do it within 24 hours, right? So you can't ever think that you lost. You always got to gain no matter what it is. And then you get to the end of the season, 130 games, 140 games, and you add it all together, and that's what you have. But you never lose. And I mean, I'm sitting here right now today, 77 years old. If somebody threw me a pitch, I still think I can hit it. Just throw it to me right now. I'll get it. I'll hit it. I'll catch it. Yeah.
Koji, you're up.
Thank you, Rob. Leron, very nice to meet you. Actually, my wife and I met you this summer at Cooperstown during a Hall of Fame
Oh,
induction
yeah.
weekend. We really had the pleasure of meeting you and your family. I was also
That's
there with Mashi Murakami, so
right.
we had
I
a
remember
chance to
I was
speak.
getting ready to say your voice. I was going to say your voice sounds familiar.
Yeah, and
That was a great ceremony, wasn't it?
that was a fantastic
That
weekend
was
all around.
I I cannot wait to go back to the Cooperstown and just walk around town and yeah, that
And
was
the
I loved it. I really loved that. Everybody should go to Cooperstown. I'll tell you that. And it doesn't have to be a ceremony. Just go there and feel the town and feel everybody that's been there over history, over time, and um, walking into that Hall of Fame building was, it was amazing.
And that Yaku exhibit that they have, that is fantastic, where they
Yeah,
showed baseball in Japan. And
yeah,
it was also great to see Tuffy Rhodes there that weekend.
I know.
Um, I guess the question I had, Max had already asked it before about baseball players that you played against in Japan, the Japanese players. And I was
Yeah.
just wondering, with Otani and Ichiro, who was the best player that you played against, do you think, during your playing days there? Who had the all-around skills like Otani or Ichiro?
Oh, there was quite a few guys. I was very impressed. Tigers had several guys. Taki Fu was really a good hitter. Kentetsu Buffaloes had a player. His name was Ogawa. Wasn't a very powerful hitter, but one year he batted almost 600 times. He struck out 6 times all year. And I think 2 or 3 of those, the umpire called him out on bad pitches. But 600 at bats and had 6 strikeouts. That's crazy. Just crazy good. I mean, they made contact. They put the ball in play. Uh, Yamamoto Koji for Hiroshima was always impressive. Suzuki Keiji, they had underarm pitchers. Yamada, they had pitcher Higashio for the Lions. Won 25 games 2 or 3 times. There was several players that were really, really good over there. Yep.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Good talking to you again.
Thank you. Hope to see you next year.
All right.
Bob, why don't you go ahead? Bob, you're muted.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Oh, good, because I'm on my iPhone. Leron Lee, what a thrill to hear you talk and meet you.
Thank you.
My question is, with with a lifetime batting average of 334 and the highest, is how often does somebody come up to you and talk to you about that? Like, I think you'd be a walking god I'm just like enamored with that. And I was wondering, do people appreciate that enough or do you feel you get the kudos you deserve?
Well, that record, there's several things that happened over time, and that transition, the way it's worked. Um, I had a really great career in Japan. 10 years. One of my records, 10 years in a row, batting over 300 is a record in Japan. Me and my brother, one year, 1980, we had back-to-back home runs 12 times. Um, there was one week in 1979, August, I was batting 332, and the league leader was batting 359. And we went to Osaka for three-game series, right? I went 5 for 5 3 times the first 7 days and ended up going 22 for 27 for the 9 games, which the the uh, the three 5 for 5s is a record in Japan too. But my average jumped from 332 to 360, so I'm leading the league in hitting. And I actually the next 2 weeks I didn't get a hit. I mean, it was like, okay, he's not going to win the batting title. We're not going to win the batting title. And of course, Kato ended up winning the batting title, and I was second or third. But uh, there's, situations was always changeable in Japan, and we always had to be changeable. And my brother and myself, we kind of did everything back to back. We played together 5 years on Lotte, and we covered each other basically. And I think that's really we established ourselves and we set standards for foreign players that had never been set before. Um, and actually, a couple of guys got mad at us because now they instead of having to they could get away with batting 250. Now they had to bat 320. They had to hit 30 home runs. And everybody who came after us, Charlie Manuel and Randy Bass and Cromartie, all those guys came after me and my brother. The level of play had changed in Japan. And I think Bob Whiting wrote an article about it. I haven't seen it, but he wrote an article about us and that transition of the level of play that my brother and I put in there, um, batting 300, playing every day, not arguing and fighting with everybody. And I figured that out my first year. I'm arguing with an umpire over a call strike, and I realized he didn't speak English and I didn't speak Japanese. And where's this going to go? Nowhere. So that first year I stopped arguing with umpires. And if they called a bad strike on me, I had to take it as it was too close to take. I should have swung at it. And that was the mantra. And it was always moving. Everything was moving. And that's the way sports is. If I cannot make an adjustment and I'm not flexible, then I can't play every game. And I always wanted to play every game. I wanted to be in every game, and I wanted to win every game. There was no substitute for any of it. Yeah.
Quick, quick follow-up, very quick, sorry. How did you feel when you saw your 1970 rookie card with Jerry Royce?
Oh, I still get them every day. Um, it was really good, and Jerry's a really good friend of mine. We played together in A ball in Modesto. And he was there for a little while. They sent him to rookie league, but we played the whole year together in Little Rock, Arkansas, in 1968. And Jerry was a left-handed pitcher, but he was really wild. And so one day I was talking to Jerry, and I says, I was a pitcher too in high school. I never played outfield. I was a pitcher and a shortstop. Actually, the Cardinals had never seen me play outfield when they drafted me. But I told Jerry, I says, the reason you're wild is because when you land, you plant your front foot in the ground, you hit the ground too hard, and it jerks your whole body back, and the ball goes this way and it goes that way. Every time you hit, it goes a different way depending on where your foot lands. And
Mm,
he started pitching with a soft landing spot, and
wow.
you see the rest what happened. He learned how to do that, and we were always teaching each other how to get things done, which
Mm,
was one of the things in Japan. Cromartie came over, and he came up to me just like I went to Jonesy. My first year, I went to Jones, and Jones told me about Japanese baseball and what we had to do and how we had to do it. Well, Jones left, and I took that spot. As guys came over,
mm,
they would come to me, and then it got to a point. Reggie Smith came over, and he said, "Hey, they told me I had to come talk to you before I started playing over here." I said, "Really?" So Reggie Smith, Warren Cromartie. Cromartie actually started calling me the godfather of Japanese baseball. He gave me that nickname. Um, Randy Bass, his first year in Japan, he was going to quit. And the guys got together, and we want you to go meet and talk to Randy Bass. He's getting ready to quit and he shouldn't go.
mm,
I said, "Well, I don't know Randy Bass. I never met him before. We don't care. You just need to talk to him." So I went over and I met Randy Bass and somewhere in Roppongi, and we talked for a while. And I told him what Jones had told me, and I told him what I talked to everybody else about and his teammate. And of course, Randy went on and won Triple Crown and 2 Triple Crowns and the championship and all that stuff. But it all equaled out to playing baseball and forgetting about a lot of the other things that the Japanese did and how they played. And there was nothing wrong with that. You just had to put in more time and more work to keep up with what they were doing. And most of the guys who went to Japan earlier and quit, it wasn't that they couldn't play there. The fact is that they didn't want to do all the extra stuff that was going on. Some of them, they were already in their 30s and older. Uh, but after the Lee brothers went over there, teams started taking younger players, and guys started
mm,
staying longer and playing harder. And
mm.
the Japanese started seeing the same thing. And Ichiro comes to America, and guess what? Everybody in Japan realized that, hey, we can play there. And I mean, we've been talking about it for 10 years, me and my brother. And uh, there was a lot of players in Japan who could have been in America at that time. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Gabe, you're next again.
I'm actually doing this on behalf of Darian Munoz, who does not have access to a mic or video. So he wanted to ask Mr. Lee if he has any relationship with the Lotte organization now that they're the Marines. He also wants to point out that he's got a modern Marines jersey with your name and number on the back, and it is quite sharp looking, I must say.
I'd like to have one of those myself. Actually, I have been over a few times. One time I was supposed to throw out the first pitch of a game, and I ended up trying to hit the first pitch of the game. Uh, I did a couple of radio shows, but I haven't had much contact with Lotte since I left, and I've been there and went to a few games, but most of the people, some of the guys I played with are coaching. It was interesting to see him out there coaching instead of playing, but the connection is there. I just haven't been to Japan that much lately.
Leron, did I hear that you're going back this fall? Is that true?
Yes. I'm hoping to be going back one of these days to get inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Well, we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Uh, uh, Rob here has had his hand up, so let him
Okay.
ask his question first.
Sure. Thanks so much for being here. This is great. Um, Japanese fans are known for their intensity, and I'm wondering if that was something you were ready for when you got there, and if you have any great stories about some of the Wild fans.
I love the fans in Japan, and to actually baseball would be boring if there was no fans in the stands. Uh, and of course, I was part of that plan for the Padres and games when they would, hey, batting second, Leron Lee, and you would hear, about 1,500 people in the stands. So the fans in Japan were absolutely fabulous. I never had any problems with them, and every game I played, it was just everybody wants to see a home run or a good hitter, and I think I always presented them with that. I always tried hard, and I played as hard as I could. One of the funny stories though, we were playing in Osaka. We were playing the Hawks, and the third baseman for the Hawks, Fujimura, was a right field hitter. He hit a lot of balls to the right side, and I'm playing right field, and my outfield coach told me to move over closer to the line because they were going to pitch him outside. And so I moved over a couple of steps, and one of the fans up in the right field foul stands near the foul line told me to move over some more. So I moved over two more steps, and he said, "Move over some more," and I moved over two more steps. Pretty soon, I was about 3 feet from the foul line. My outfield coach was telling me to move back towards center because I was too far out of position. The guy in the stands was telling me to stay there and stay close. So I'm kind of like in between both, and I'm doing what he's telling me in the stands, and I'm looking at my coach waving at him. Well, Fujimura hit a line drive straight to me. I'm like 20 feet out of position. The ball comes straight to me, and I take my hat off and I thank the guy up in the stands and all the people around and told him to sit down and shut up, right? And so we run in, and the coach says, "How'd you know that?" I said, "That guy told me up in the right field stands where to stand." So it was really a cute situation, and but I love the fans, and the fans love the game, and they made it more exciting. And even if you weren't playing well that day, the fans always made you feel good because they never let you leave there. They didn't boo you or they didn't throw stuff at you unless you did something wrong. Um, but yeah, I love the Japanese fans, and even in America, the baseball fans are why we're out there. That's why we play, and that's why the game is what it is. Yeah.
So, Leron, let's go back to the Hall of Fame. You have such wonderful feelings about Japan, but I guess that might be one that's might be a little bit on the negative side. I think everybody on this call believes you should be in the Japan Hall of Fame.
I believe it too.
You believe it too. Do you have an inkling of why you're not? And has there been any behind the scenes talk of you getting in soon now that Randy Bass is in?
Well, my good friend over there, Bob Whiting, has talked to me a few times, and after the first year, they started letting foreign players in, and I thought they might when Ichiro was going to get in here. I think the Japanese had to open their market up for foreign players. Um, but I mean, even Randy Bass himself said I should have been on there before him. Randy Bass said that himself, and um, you know, somebody has to vote you in, and I think it's the ex-players who do that in Japan. I'm not sure about their system, but when you talk about records and things that went down, um, 1,579 hits I had is actually I think is more than Ichiro had in Japan.
Hmm.
Um, um, I played 4 All-Star games. I think I had 4 home runs in those All-Star games. I had like 6 or 8 hits in 10 at bats or something, whatever it was. It was really a good number. Um, and several records I broke and still hold in Japan. Um, I think one of the records I broke was Kawakami. Yeah, Kawakami was called the god of batting in Japan. He was that, one of those, like Ty Cobb, and he's back he was an older player, but they called him the god of batting. Well, I got 1,500 hits, 8 games faster than he did, so I broke his record. And in the newspaper, they wrote, uh, "We called Kawakami the god of batting, and now that Leron Lee has broken his record, what are we going to call him?" And nobody ever answered the question. It was like that was the end of the whole deal. But just all in all, uh, overall, everything that happened um, to me and my brother, because my brother ended up his batting average, I think, was 311, 308 or 311 for his 10 years. Great player, great teammate. Um, the type of guy that should be in the Hall of Fame. Same thing. Um, we played and we enjoyed playing there. And I actually, I met my wife there. We got married. Our 2 kids were born in Japan, and they're both major leaguers right now. They asked me when they were little, why aren't there any girls in the majors? I said, well, because girls are not strong enough and they shouldn't be getting balls thrown at their head or getting hit in the elbow with a fastball. I said, but now I call them both. They're major leaguers, and there's 1,000 different ways to be a major leaguer, and that's what they are. And so my presence in Japan was a gift to me because I love playing baseball. I went to Japan and I got a chance to play almost 5,000 games in Japan, and that to me, all in all, that career in my mind, it still feels good. And I hope I make the Hall of Fame. If I do, I already told a bunch of my friends we're going to all go to Japan. We're going to have a party in Japan and celebrate the Hall of Fame, especially after going to Cooperstown. I really got excited about the Japanese Hall of Fame because it's just so much fun. And to see players, the old guys that used to play and get you out, or you got a home run or whatever. Um, one of the relievers for the Sable Lions, his name was what was his name? A little sidearm left-hander. I'll think of his name in a minute. But he ended up getting 500 appearances, and he had a party, and he invited me to his 500 appearance parties because 250 of them was against me. And he got me out actually, he made me bat right-handed one night. So if you look at my batting averages, right-handed, I'm batting 1,000 in Japan because I was 1 for 1 off of Imai. That was his name, Imai. And no, it wasn't Imai either. That was Sable. That was another pitcher. What was
Our
it?
guy?
Nagai. That's it, Nagai. Yeah. He invited me to his party and he gave me a present. He said thank you, and I had to say thank you to him. And it was great fun. It was great fun, and I just mainly I have to say about that whole 11 years in Japan is that was where I was supposed to that's where I was supposed to play. That's why I never got a starting job in America. I was destined for Japan. I met my wife. We've been married almost 44 years now, and my daughters are doing great. If I had 2 boys, I guarantee you they would have played in the major leagues and been retired by now. But uh, the philosophy, the history, the growth, it just keeps getting better. And I mean, you get to when you see a guy like Otani hitting and pitching, and the kid Sasaki the other night on the disabled list all year, and he comes in and is throwing 101 miles an hour, going like, whoa. I'd hate to see his split finger throwing that hard, but it's baseball, and the reason it is because baseball is great. Baseball is great. Hmm.
Do we have any other questions? Anybody who's kind of shy, needs a little push to ask a question? No? All right. We're going to end with one of my favorite stories, Leron. I think I asked you once, I said, what was the most unusual thing you ever saw in Japan? And you told a story about a pitch out. Could you end with that
Well,
story?
we had a lot of great plays and stories in Japan, and but this one, uh, we were playing the Nankai Hawks. I don't remember what inning it was, but I was on. We had bases loaded, and I was on third base, and it was 2 outs, right? So, and the batter was our catcher. His name was Takahashi. He was a 35-year-old catcher. He was a veteran catcher. Bases loaded, 2 outs. The count was full, 3-2. I'm on third, and I'm looking at the coach, and he bunt sign, which means the squeeze play. He put on a squeeze play with full count. Our manager did. And I looked at the coach, and I'm going like, wait a minute. And sure enough, it was a squeeze play with 2 outs, and the count was full. Well, I guess since we were looking around at each other, the other team picked up the sign, and 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 I can't remember the thought that I had of what to do in this situation. I mean, you're always taught to know if this sign is on or that play is on, you know what's going to happen. There's 9 positions, there's 3 bases and home base and the pitchers, everything is there. So every play that happens in baseball, you've done it before, and this is what you're supposed to do, and this is where you're supposed to go, and you just have to perform and react faster than the other team because the other team basically knows what's going on too. Bases loaded, full count, and our manager puts on a squeeze play. That has never happened before. In my that I heard of, that I've seen or talked or told stories about or whatever. Anyway, the pitcher winds up and he throws the ball, and our catcher squares around to do the squeeze play. And their pitcher throws a pitch out. I mean, catcher jumps up outside, which is what? Ball four, right? Our catcher, because of the discipline and the training that they have in Japan, you cannot miss the bunt on a squeeze play. Tried to bunt the pitch out, which is now strike three. and now it's 3 outs. And so I'm standing there at about halfway home from third base, and my brother brings my glove out because I got to go out to left. He's going to first base. He brings me my glove, and we're standing there looking at each other. And I said, Leon, what just happened? Well, we're trying to figure out this play. And Leon says, I never saw that before in my life. I said, well, I never have either. So Leon says, oh, well, I guess their manager outdumbed our manager. Like, how do you do that? Why call a pitch out on 3-2, which walks in a run? Why bunt at it? I mean, it was the most hilarious, unlaughable play you ever seen in baseball. Let's put it that way. It was really weird. Yeah. 3-2, full count, squeeze, pitch out, strikeout. Yeah. Yeah.
Leron, I'd like to thank you. It's been wonderful. You can't see the comments going on the side of the screen, but they're all wonderful.
Is
People,
that right?
they've
Well,
enjoyed
that's great.
it.
To talk about baseball and to play baseball, I guess most of us, one night in Tokyo, we ran into Whitey Ford, who was in Japan to He was there for 10 days, the pitching coach for the Tokyo Giants. And for 6 nights in a row, we had dinner and drinks with Whitey Ford, and he told us Yankee stories for 6 nights in a row. I only wish I would have had a tape recorder. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was funny. It was great. We were crying. Uh, One of the things he told us is Mickey Mantle was so good, um, but he drank a lot. He was, he had a little thing about drinking. But he said if Mickey Mantle would have been sober half of the time that he played, he would have hit 1,000 home runs, and he was serious. Unbelievable to be sitting there with Whitey Ford at dinner and drinks for 6 nights in a row. It could only happen in Tokyo. Just wonderful, wonderful things. Met great people all the time, and my best friend is still in Tokyo, Kenji Nakamura. He used to run a hobby shop. I guess I flew model airplanes, radio control. Met him the first night in Tokyo, and he's still my best friend in Japan, and we still talk on the phone. And yeah, it was wonderful. It was a great career, and I loved it, and I still love it. Yeah, yep,
That's a great place to end.
yep.
So thank you, and thank you for
Thank you,
all of our
Rob.
guests. Really appreciate everybody tuning in, especially on a playoff night. And Leron, thank you for tuning in on a playoff night and anytime. And I'll certainly be in touch. And
Got to go see if Toronto's going to score 15 runs tonight.
I'm going to the game tomorrow, so let's hope.
How are you?
Okay, I'll be at the game, so I'm rooting for the Yankees tomorrow. You can't
They need some help.
sure do.
They need some help.
You sure
All
do.
right, thank you guys. And I mean, anytime I love this and it was wonderful. And anytime if you got a question, have them send it to you and send it to me. I'll answer up. Yeah, it'll be fun. It's great. It was wonderful.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.